this place, seeking power.
Power to kill Minsk. Tell me what I must do.
The power is more ancient even than I. It comes at great cost. What will you sacrifice to have your revenge?
Everything.
You must feel the power. It calls to you. Go to it.
Okay, back when Blizzard first announced that Starcraft 2 was going to be split into 3 parts, I'm not going to lie, I was quite frankly pissed off. However, what was good was that Wings of Liberty proved to be really well written, and that put my mind at rest for a while. What I didn't bank on was having to wait another 3 years before Part 2 showed its Zerg Infested face. Anyway, that 3 years has passed, Heart of the Swarm has now arrived, and I'm still a bit undecided as to whether this expansion lives up to the legacy of its predecessor. There are some bits of it that, well, they just feel off. I can't think of a better word for it. They don't quite feel right, and I'll get to them a little later in this review. Now, with all Starcraft games, it's a story of 2 parts, the multiplayer and the campaign mode. Now, I've never shied away from this. I'm a campaign player all the way through. Now, this campaign is focused around the primary character, much in the same way that Wings of Liberty was revolving around Reyna. This time it's Kerrigan's story, and it follows her as she tries to regain control of the Zerg Swarm. Basically, she's intent on revenge against Arcturus meant for. Quite frankly, he shafted her. He left her on that planet to be infested by, to be eaten by the Zerg, and she eventually became the Queen of Blades. Now, players of the previous game will be familiar with the fact that between missions you get put into this very interesting hub environment, and it allows you to talk to some of the supporting characters. Now I'm glad to see that that's made a return in Heart of the Swarm, and contrary to what my previous image of the Swarm was, there are actually some interesting creatures in there. One of my personal favourites for the side characters is Abathur. Abathur is, for want of a better term, the Zerg's lead geneticist. He has one focus and one focus only, and that's to genetically manipulate the creatures of the Zerg to be the best and most efficient at the task that they've been set. Now, with Kerrigan having regained her Terran form and gained a bit more of the human influence in herself, she's trying to take things down that route. So she wants her broodmothers to be more intelligent, and that goes against Abathur's opinions on that, because he's been led to believe that he should never create anything intelligent enough to challenge the leader of the Zerg. So watching those two personalities, even though his sentences are really clipped, really short, you can see how deep the character had been written and how the two characters interplay with each other. It's very well done. As always, there are other side characters. The Zerg also have their own version of an adjutant, and even Zeratul makes an appearance ever so briefly. Now, all of this is once again complemented by well put together cutscenes. There's one thing Blizzard can do, it's a cutscene. They do them that well that you don't even mind when they pop up mid-mission. Also, the audio in this one, at no point does it seem out of place. It's a very, very well fitted bit of music. The main focus for Heart of the Swarm is the missions themselves. These are one of the biggest surprises in this expansion for me, and they've managed to do something impressive and improve on Wings of Liberty. There are very few missions in this game that revert to your classic RTS, build a base and build it better than the AI. Most of them have some form of mechanic or timer or event that happens, such as using creep tumors to work your way across the map to activate certain Zerg defences, or in one mission the actual planet causes everything caught in a flash freeze to stop on the point, unless you've got the ability to move while the flash freeze is happening. The Zerg will eventually evolve that, and you've got to basically pick off the Protoss while they're frozen solid. These mean that no two matches seem to get repetitive. There are some other missions as well that really feel reminiscent of Warcraft 3. There's a lot of missions that involve you going down onto the planet with Kerrigan herself and running around. Some of these won't involve building a base at all, so it'll just be Kerrigan and a few little elite troops running around and taking out some big Zerg. Now, those are brilliant. However, back at the beginning of this rant, I did mention that some things felt a bit off, a bit odd. The first is evolution missions. Now, with Wings of Liberty, you had your upgrade system, and you could choose between more people in your bunker or put a machine gun on top of it. And that was a either or choice. Now, that's come back in the form of evolution missions. Now, Abtha will go off and create a new strain of Zergling, but he'll create two and they'll be mutually exclusive. Now, rather than just choosing between the two, it makes you play a little tutorial mission, a little side mission to go off and test the two different types of Zergling. They're not necessary, and they just are separated from the main story a little too much, in my opinion. The second issue I have with Heartless Worm, it's actually a fault of the fact that this is part 2 of a 3-part story. Now, there's obviously going to be things that have to be done to line up ready for Legacy of the Void, which is the 3rd installment. And I'm fine with that. However, unfortunately, it seems to have been done a bit ham-fisted at times. There's too many precursors to the next game, and in a way it kind of overshadows what should have essentially been Kerrigan's story, in the same way that Wings of Liberty was Rayna's story. It's not terrible, but it could have been done better, in my opinion. Just a little bit more polish on that. Finishing up then, we've got to obviously mention the multiplayer, because, well, it's not my personal favourite part of the game. It is considered by many to be the core of the game. As always, Blizzard have done what they do best, and they've kept this game balanced. They've added a few more units, they've removed some others for new users so that they can get into possibly higher level play. They've added some training modes that will teach you how to handle certain phases of a matchup. They've improved the AI. As always, there's unranked matches, ladder matches, clans, all that stuff. They have also dramatically improved the mod scene. Now, there's a massively powerful modding engine behind Starcraft 2. Some of the mods that came out of Wings of Liberty were brilliant, but a little hard to find. Now, they have finally added an arcade interface that makes it so much easier to find things. A lot of these mods are getting some serious attention, as they deserve. For the esports crowd, they have added a separate load of enhancements, mainly revolving around replays, such as the ability to recover a game from a set point. So if you're in a 4-player match and 2 players drop out due to a connection loss, you can restart the game from that point. That is very useful for esport. Another one is the takeover command ability. Now, you can be watching a replay played by some other players and jump into the game at that point. That is an incredible training resource for professional Starcraft players. To bring this to a conclusion then, because, well, the review's got to have a conclusion. Overall, Blizzard have done a good job with this expansion. They've made a few missteps on storytelling, which is not like them, but that I hope will pay out in Legacy of the Void. All in all then, well worth picking up, and here's hoping they don't make us wait 3 years to play Legacy of the Void.